Hey guys, so invited Greg Nussbickel, lawyer we like to use here at the MLT, over to the secret MLT World Headquarters. Thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So I thought I would ask Greg some questions while he was here, and Greg was kind enough to indulge me. So here he is. Greg, our customers get into a bunch of different situations, and some of them you have to get them out of. And so, they say, what is it, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or what is it?
Stitch in time saves 9. You heard that one?
So that's a good one. Ounce of sweat saves a gallon of blood in battle, something like that. An ounce of peace saves a gallon of blood, something like that. No. Maybe I'm stretching. But speaking of blood, we're talking about bloodlines and divorce and death. Sometimes people die. Unfortunately, here in Florida, it happens probably more sometimes. And when you own a house and you die, there are certain things that happen to you, and some of them are intended consequences that you're like, okay, this is what I wanted to happen with my house or my property. And other times it just happens to you because you didn't plan. For the sake of somebody who lives with someone and cares about them, and to have them in their house, there's different ways if you want them to have the house after you die or you don't want them to have the house after you die. Recently, I had a lady who is living in a house, and her boyfriend wanted her to be able to stay there. But they didn't do anything about it, they just told someone. And when he died, nobody really wants to believe that that was the intention. And if they wanted that to occur, what would they do differently?
Probably just about everything differently. Number one, I guess the beginning point is that verbal agreements are not going to be enforceable after death. So even if everybody knows that was the understanding, if it was something that was expressed verbally, it's really not going to carry any water afterwards. To have a wish that's going to apply after death, it's going to have to be in writing. It has to be properly witnessed. It should be something that's notarized in a particular way if we're talking about a will going through the probate and so forth. But really with any property transfer during life or after death, the writing is going to be number one, because outside of that, the person who thinks they have an interest probably has nothing at all legally.
So, what would have been the guy, if he wanted his loved one to get the half the house, even though she wasn't on title? Would they have drawn up a will? What would they have? Is that the best way to do it?
It's definitely one approach. With a will, you can maintain the ownership during lifetime, which is great, so you're not giving a gift beforehand. On the other hand, if you change and put somebody's name on the title, you are giving them an actual ownership interest in the property. That actually surprises people sometimes. They think, well, maybe it's just a name on a title, but it's not really theirs, it's still mine. Once their name appears on it, they're going to have some rights in it. If you want that to only occur after death, then a will is one way to do that. The will still has to go through a whole probate process. So that's where the court gets involved. There's hearings, there's motions, there's accountings and inventories, and that gets a little expensive and time consuming. So there are other options where you might transfer that property into a living trust and then make this other individual a beneficiary of it. So there's pluses and minuses, twists and turns everywhere you go, but it is something you should probably talk to an attorney. Or at least,
it sounds like it's a little bit above a napkin, or
an online kind of download one size fits all thing. Yeah, it's pretty complex.
All right, well, good, man. Thank you for sharing that.